Welcome to Android Authority on Air, the original Android Hangout show on Google+. I'm Derek Ross.
And I'm Scott Anderson.
And this week we have returning guest Jonathan Franklin, fellow Android enthusiast, and our resident ranter, Dan Charlton. You love him, you hate him. He hates various CPUs, he codes, he does all sorts of crazy stuff. Dan, welcome to the show. John, welcome to the show.
What's up, guys?
Nice having you here.
I think Dan gets a crazier introduction every single week.
It does continue getting more ridiculous.
You have to build off of previous experience.
Eventually, we're just going to have an entire show just introducing Dan. So Scott, what are we talking about besides Dan this week?
We're going to be talking about the number of Android device activations that was released at a Motorola event. We're going to be going over some ICS and Jelly Bean updates for phones and carriers. Also some app updates / releases. Also some new devices and rumored upcoming devices. And we are going to be giving away an Android Authority t-shirt. So, yeah.
All right. So if you're watching this right now, it may be a little bit of deja vu. Yesterday we tried to do it and had some technical difficulties, but we're back. We're back in action here. So let's get started. So as Scott said, we have a little bit of Android activation news. So a few months ago, back in June, Andy Rubin announced that there was 900,000 Android devices being activated per day, just under 1 million. About a month later, at Google I/O 2012, Google announced that over 1 million devices were being activated daily. Fast forward till this past week, at Motorola's On Display event in New York City, Eric Schmidt announced that the total number of device activations had now surpassed 1.3 million per day. And out of those 1.3 million, 70,000 of them were tablets. To date, there is almost 500 million, 480 million to be exact, Android devices that have been activated around the world. That's pretty crazy. That's a lot of devices. Android is a freight train that cannot be stopped. So, following activations, we say, well, all these activations, you know, so what are they running? All these devices running. Well, Jelly Bean is starting to slowly creep up there. Jelly Bean has 1.2%.
You know what, though? That's not bad, and it's been out, what, 6 weeks?
Yeah, and those are mainly Nexus devices, you know. So
only Nexus devices.
Yeah. So you know, that's not bad.
It's faster than ICS was.
Yeah.
Yeah, Ice Cream Sandwich, well, as John said, Ice Cream Sandwich is still slowly gaining traction. It's sitting at about 21% right now. It's been out for what, it was announced last October. First devices came out in November, so it's going on close to a year right now, and it's only about 21%. Honeycomb is still in there, about 2% for some unknown reason. Manufacturers, update your tablets, please. And Gingerbread is still rocking 57%. So,
I expect the progression of Ice Cream Sandwich to be somewhat similar to, I think it was Eclair, where sort of it took a while for it to start catching on, and then sort of picked up a little ground, and then was just eaten alive by Froyo's domination very quickly. Right? Like, I think this might be the high watermark for Ice Cream Sandwich, and Ice Cream Sandwich is going to start disappearing to Jelly Bean.
Yeah. Jelly Bean's more of a lateral, well, not really a lateral move. It's a minor step up, but the framework, I mean, it's not nearly as major as Gingerbread. Gingerbread Ice Cream Sandwich is by far the most, you know, even from Android, even from Android's own beginning, it's more significant than anything we've ever seen for EGL drivers and stuff.
Yep. So, Scott, speaking of device activations and Ice Cream Sandwich and Jelly Bean updates, a few devices got updated this week. Not as much as we'd like, but a few did, right?
Yeah, for Sprint, we got the Galaxy Nexus and the Nexus S4G. They're getting Jelly Bean. This was announced yesterday as a phased rollout, and this is kind of it's an over-the-air update, which is great. You don't have to use Kai's. But for AT&T, ICS update for the Samsung Captivate Glide. That started yesterday as well, but that is an update through Kai's or Keys, however you want to pronounce it, whatever floats your boat.
I say Keys.
Keys is.
I think it's sad that carriers are forcing
let's talk about
hardwire updates because they don't want to have to foot the data transfer bill.
Well, let's talk about keys real quick and Android updates. All these devices that are getting ice cream sandwich from Samsung via keys or Kais, as Scott says, they're only being updated, in my opinion, by the tech savvy. The average person isn't going to know to download software, put it on their computer, plug their device in to see if there's an update, unless they're being told by their carrier, getting a message, an email, a text message, whatever. Most people aren't going to know that, and then plus most people don't want to have to go through that hassle just to get an update. Yeah. Most people don't care about updates. So
I think the problem with your argument about it being just for the tech savvy is the tech savvy, right? First of all, don't have Samsung capacitive glides, and second of all, already have rooted devices.
Yeah.
On the other hand,
really, this is for the consumer that happens to want to look and is complaining about not getting an update.
A buddy of mine I work with
can say, "Oh, well, no, you need to plug it in and do all of this crap to get your update." Like, "Oh, it's out there. Don't blame us."
Yeah, well, that's like a buddy of mine I work with. He has a Samsung tablet, and he had to get it through keys, and he was talking to me about it, and he basically said, if you wouldn't have told me about it and told me I had to go do this, I would have never done it. Yeah, and I said, so that's your job as a tech-savvy person. If you know somebody that has a Samsung tablet and the update's coming through keys or a phone's coming through keys, let them know. Let them know. Get their ice cream sandwich on for them.
I think it's just Samsung's cheaping out on that one because they have to pay the carriers to push the OTA update. I think it's just a way for them to try to circumvent having to pay that.
I don't know that they have to pay the carriers for it. I don't know that that's the holdup. I think the carriers are sort of the problem in this, not so much Samsung.
I think they still have to go through the approval process, but I don't know if there's a separate fee to actually, bandwidth-wise, push the OTA or not. I don't know how that factors in because if you're going to tie up their own people to test the software, you might as well go ahead and push it through and just get it over with.
But they're also pushing keys-based updates for Wi-Fi only devices.
Yeah, which have nothing to do with carrier.
I guess that does take the whole carrier aspect out of the equation because for the tablets that are Wi-Fi only, it's not a carrier issue. It's just Samsung being lazy.
So is it them not wanting to, download a massive update over Wi-Fi, thinking that somebody might be downloading an update and then walk away from their hotspot and then have the download be corrupt or something?
It's not that hard to have the download self-check for completion.
Oh, I know. It could definitely do an integrity check. All right, so let's talk about some app updates here. This week we had one big one for some people. Scott?
uTorrent. uTorrent beta hit the Play Store. Basically, it's a torrent searcher and downloader, and it's popular on desktops and laptops, and it's kind of nice having it come to the phone, so you can actually...
Is it actually a torrent client on
Android? It is 100% a torrent client.
Yeah, it's 100% a torrent client, which is really awesome, but the search functionality just searches Google, which is kind of funny.
It's pretty funny.
Yeah. So, but you can subscribe to...
This has been taken down for DMCA reasons.
Yeah, and you can subscribe to RSS feeds if you got reoccurring things that you want to download if something's released every week or something like that. Then you can set upload and download limits, which is nice as well. So, it's in beta. It's strongly in beta right now, but it's getting there. It's pretty cool for a tablet that you would use.
Definitely, previous BitTorrent-based apps I've seen have just been sort of controllers for a desktop app.
Yep.
Which always seemed pretty stupid to me.
Yep.
Yeah, the uTorrent remote or whatever it was called, that I've used before to log into my desktop and control it, control the torrent actions from there. It was helpful from time to time, but I wish it could be more.
Like having the whole thing on your...
Yeah, but will I want to download torrents to my phone then? You know what I mean? Like, do I need to do that? But hey, you can if you want to. Remember a few episodes back about, hey, is that a server in your pocket or are you just happy to see me? Well, enter uTorrent. That's all we're saying.
Yeah, that's true.
That is true.
And I mean, if you're
also, you're going to torrent your distribution of Linux to put on it.
Yeah, there you go. So, devices this week. Amazon, Scott, came out with a whole bunch of new players of the game, huh?
Yeah, Kindle Fire, $159. Kindle Fire HD 7-inch for $199, which ships September 14th. That's in about a week, little less than a week.
6 days.
Yeah, and then Kindle Fire HD 8.9-inch, $299 and ships sometime in November. And there's an LTE version for $499. Yeah.
That then comes with a $50 a year subscription to 250 megabytes of data a month on AT&T's LTE only.
That's just weird.
Yeah.
Although,
The whole thing of this is weird. These are also, all three of them, ad-supported. So it basically turns your lock screen into an Amazon advertisement screensaver page.
And the 250 megabyte allowance goes good to download all those ads to give you a nice high resolution image and everything.
Well,
It's convenient.
where you are in extremely small LTE footprint, you get all of the ads that Amazon can throw your way.
Okay, so to be a realist on this here, we're making fun of it because they're only giving you 250 meg a month, but it only costs $50. And for the most part, everywhere you're using for the majority of the time, most people use a tablet. You're at home, you're at work, you're in a hotel, airport, coffee shop, restaurant. You're somewhere that has Wi-Fi. So for the few times that you just need to check something, that 250 meg, for a couple times a month really isn't that bad. It only costs you $50.
You also have to be in one of the 12 AT&T LTE places.
Okay.
Well, it was Chromebooks. Chromebooks were giving you 100 megabytes of Verizon 3G for free.
Yeah, and not only that, the Kindle readers give you 250 megs a month for free.
Dan, you don't have to use LTE. It'll roam on a 3G network.
My understanding was that it was LTE only.
No. There's 10 radios in that thing. It's 10 bands. It'll work on 3G.
Then why is it AT&T only?
I'm not Bezos. I don't know, but it because that's who they got to make their deal with. But it will work on 3G. It's not just 4G only. So you can use it in areas without.
Can you get other data plans, or are you just stuck with this $50 a year, 250 megabytes, and that's it?
I'm not 100% sure how that works. But you do. I mean,
Amazon wasn't exactly forthcoming with details about all of the little hidden catches in these. Much like they didn't bother mentioning the ad-supported nature of all three.
Such as how you can't opt out of ads yet. Yeah,
right.
Yet. And who knows?
And when you can, you have to basically tack an extra unknown, maybe $20, maybe $30, maybe $50 onto the sale price of all of these.
Well, we're assuming that it's going to be somehow unsubsidized, but I mean that's just our assumption. Yeah.
I mean it's the assumption based on what their previous products have been, right? Like they've had ad-supported e-readers that you pay $30 to get rid of the ads on them and then move on. So yeah, basically add $30 onto the cost of all three of these tablets.
So Dustin Brand, 250 megs. It isn't $50 a month. It's $50 a year.
Yeah, for 250 a month, 250 megabytes a month.
I don't know. I think it's nothing. If I had that on my Nexus 7, I'd pay $50 right now to use 250 meg of mobile data in a jam if I could do it.
After you downloaded your 3 songs, then what are you going to do next month?
What kind of songs do you download?
When I'm in my car and I need to do something real quick.
It might be 30.
Oh, wait, hold on. No, Daniel wants to download
okay.
the long symphonies. So, they're really,
It's not
long.
meant for that.
All right, not 3,
it's not
10.
meant for that. It's not meant for content consumption over 3G. It's meant for...
Wait. No, that's exactly what it's meant for. Jeff Bezos made it very clear these aren't gadgets. Their entire purpose is to provide you with a service.
That is correct. But with the 4G, 3G,
So
the
you
mobile
can download
data
about
part
a third
isn't
of your HD movie a month.
Well, think about it, though. What you're paying for your carrier, you're getting literally 3 gigabytes of data a year for $50. Which is a year. Yeah, I mean, you're paying $50 a year, but still, you can pay $50, say, a month on a carrier and get 5 gigabytes worth of data. So
Yeah, but and for me personally,
I mean, it's not. Is it a deal? I mean,
everyone has a different use case. For me personally, I don't need 5 gig on my Nexus 7 of mobile data. I need the few times I'm out somewhere maybe, and I don't. I've never tethered it because I haven't needed it yet. So
well, I just mean comparatively about the value of it. 3 gigabytes worth of data for $50 is not exactly that much of a deal.
No, for $35 a month, you can get unlimited from T-Mobile.
Yeah.
Okay, so with regards to ads, would it be, given the hardware, and we'll go over that, would it be worthwhile to flash and just put your own ROM on it and get rid of those ads? Would it be worthwhile at the prices that they're offered right now to just buy the hardware? No.
On all 3 editions, Dan, you're not a fan.
No.
Now, I know that the little guy, the revamped, the new Kindle Fire, I mean, it's rocking roughly the same hardware, the Galaxy Nexus has.
No, not even the same hardware as the Galaxy Nexus. Not even that good.
It's using a lesser, an older OMAP processor, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, so, and that technology is a year old right now. So, but it's $159. So is it worth $159?
I'm pretty sure you can get a Galaxy Nexus for about that price.
And remember the Nexus 7 is
oh, that's right. Or you can get something that's more than twice as good.
Well,
for just
$100, has better hardware and comes with a $25 credit, so that brings its price down. Plus the $10 Google Wallet, which brings the price down.
And it's ad free.
Yeah.
And it's ad free.
Which brings the price down further.
And the software implementation is 50 gazillion times better.
Oh yeah, that too.
And the list goes on. But the thing is, one thing that I do like is the micro HDMI out.
On the new Kindle or on the new Fire or on the new Fire HD? Or both? HD. Yeah.
I do like that functionality.
Nice things. It has more storage space. I don't know if it has expandable storage, but I know it does have more space. But other than that, it's got absolutely nothing that even compares to the quality of the Nexus 7. It's got the same resolution screen, but it's LCD, which is not as high quality as the IPS that's in the Nexus 7. It's got the same processor that's in the Galaxy Nexus.
We keep referring to the little guy, the Kindle Fire. What about let's talk about
let's talk about the HD.
The 7-inch HD for $199.
Yeah. LCD screen. So not as good as the one in the Nexus 7. Mm-hmm. The same chip that's in the Galaxy Nexus. So it was a good processor when it came out a year ago.
Yeah.
But it's not exactly impressive anymore.
Now, what about their whole marketing ploy about how it has dual Wi-Fi antennas, dual band and MIMO support? MIMO means multiple in, multiple out. So basically, it can connect multiple times to the same access points. So you get faster connections. So what that means, like right now, if you have let's say a wireless N network, your Galaxy Nexus or your Nexus 7 will only connect at like 65 megabit, I believe. Even if you're sitting right beside it, you're not going to connect any faster than that. But what they're saying is you'll be able to connect a lot faster, up to what's wireless N, 250 meg to something like that.
No, a lot higher than that.
So you'll be I know at work I connect to 250 megabit on N on my laptop. So you'll be able to connect it at least that. Now they're selling that as their marketing point with this, that you can connect so much faster. Well, remember the neat thing about internet access is you're only as fast as your weakest link. So most of the country is sitting there at
on an average of I think it's 8 megabit per second broadband connection in the country is the average.
Well, let's even talk. I mean, for I have Comcast. I have 30 megabit. So the 65 megabit that my Nexus 7 connects at is still twice as fast as what something can be thrown at me. So then you could argue, well, wait, maybe they're talking about local networks. But these are devices meant to download stuff from Amazon's cloud.
Yeah.
So that's just a bunch of fluff for people that don't really know what this means. It's really not that big of a deal. I mean,
yes, this is pretty much the same thing as Samsung advertising for their as yet non-existent A15 processor that it's going to have. I can't remember what it is. Wi-Fi display, which is basically Samsung inventing some new title to put on something that absolutely everything else can already do. Yeah, nothing special. Just something for Amazon to try and brag about, to try and make people think that they're putting out good products when in fact they're really not.
It's nice to see them continue to use Android as their base, though. I do like that.
And they've improved it to ICS up from, wasn't it built on Froyo before?
Yep. So the next one will be built on
Jelly Bean, probably.
Or Keyline.
I don't know. Keyline will be. I think Keyline will probably be a more major software update than Jelly Bean. I don't know if they'll really have time to do what they. I don't know what Keyline's going to bring either.
Okay, well, let's not get into that.
Yeah.
So
I just made based on their slowness to react to what they have.
So let's recap here for everybody watching. So no matter what version, the LTE version for $500, the 8.9 inch for $299, the 7-inch HD for $199, or the $159 regular Kindle Fire. Dan, any of these you would recommend for any people? I mean, any case, any circumstance?
No.
How about you, John?
Can't say that I necessarily would over a Nexus 7, no.
What about if somebody is already on the Amazon ecosystem? You know, they're already using Amazon's cloud for music. They're already using Amazon MP3. They're a Prime member. You know, maybe they have Amazon movies on their Blu-ray player or TV or something like that. They're already part of the Amazon cloud.
If you're a Prime member, I think that's the main advantage it has.
I don't think that it really has an advantage in that. I think the question is not so much are you an Amazon user as are you only ever going to use Amazon? If you only ever use Amazon the same way that iPhone users only ever use iTunes for any of their content that they want to consume, ever, then sure, go ahead and get a Kindle. But if you want to have the option to use Amazon and potentially any number of other content providers, no, I wouldn't recommend getting the Kindle.
And I think that's
Kindle
the
Reader app on any other Android device. You can get your Kindle Movies app on
that's the point. Android allows you to access other content systems. Or I'm sorry, Android that we know it allows you to access other content systems, whereas the Kindle Fire's version of Android, you can't do that without a little bit of know-how. So yeah, I would agree with you there.
And putting another version of Android on it.
Yeah, exactly.
I think anytime you've got the option of a equivalent operating system where you have one that treats a third party as a first-class citizen versus one that tries to close you and lock you in, you'd be dumb to recommend the one that just locks them down to one particular. And when they have an open ecosystem that gives them options.
Yeah.
This doesn't make sense. Yeah. Why lock yourself into a company that might fall apart 3 years later?
Right.
No.
Right. For somebody that is tied into the Amazon content community, there's no reason why they can't use a Nexus 7 to access that.
Yeah.
But for somebody that's maybe a little bit in Amazon, but also a little bit into Google's content system or a little bit into other smaller retailers, they can't so much do that on the Kindle Fires.
So the next question is, because these the previous version of these sold 22% of the U.S. tablet market. They sold a shit ton of these. So is it going to sell more than the Nexus 7? Do you
Probably.
think?
I think so.
Because they...
I wouldn't be surprised one way or the other.
Well, I think it will because it's well known. I mean, it's a well-known product. Everyone knows what a Kindle Fire is. Not everybody knows what a Nexus 7 is.
Or a Nexus.
Or a Nexus.
Or, Nexus in general. Well, Google has done a better job advertising the Nexus 7 than they have Nexus devices in the past. But they have not done what I would think is good enough. They need to get it in a retail store like a Best Buy or one of the most popular ones instead of just, Staples and, a couple of others. I mean, they need to get...
a big outlet for them.
Yeah. I mean, it's just they need to really do better making deals with retail partners.
Well, I mean, the other thing is Google's still really sort of just getting into the content.
Yeah.
Or not the content, but the hardware producing sort of mode.
They're getting there.
I wonder when the Nexus Q is going to be released again.
Yeah.
I wonder if they're going to do another event for it, too.
I mean, I think that'll depend on when they do it. It might just end up going, sort of sitting on a shelf until next I/O.
It might. Okay, so let's move on to Motorola. Derek, you want to take that?
Yeah, I'll talk for a little bit. I like to talk. So Motorola.
Really?
Yeah, exactly. So Motorola did some neat stuff this week. They, in my opinion, their announcement was, hey, look, this is what Google is doing with the company. We are Google now. This is the new Motorola. Be excited for the new Motorola. You know, Motorola is going to do things. In my opinion, the first few minutes of the speech, or the first 10 minutes of the speech, I mean, when Eric Schmidt was talking, was basically throwing around Google's cloud, in my opinion, stating, you know, this is what we're doing. And I'm excited. I am. I would recommend these phones to people, and actually I have recently to two coworkers. So Motorola announced finally the upgrade to the RAZR HD, and they announced the upgrade to the RAZR Max, which the RAZR Max HD. And they announced a new little guy, which I'm actually very excited for, the RAZR M. I think out of all three of those devices, I mean, in my opinion, don't even go for the RAZR HD, and we'll get to that in a minute. Don't even talk about that guy. You know, if you're going to get a RAZR HD, go for the one that has the better battery life.
Yeah.
And then the RAZR M. But they're all very, very similar specs, basically, except for the battery and the screen. Said we don't really need to get into the majority of them. I mean, they have 1.5 gigahertz dual-core S4 processor, a gig of RAM, 32 gig of internal storage. So everybody, you know, that wants storage.
I think that depends on the device. I think the regular RAZR and the M are smaller, but the Max is bigger.
Yeah, exactly. You have an 8-megapixel camera, 1.3 megapixel front-facing camera. You know, the RAZR HD has a 2500 mAh battery, and the milliamp hours on the M is just a little bit smaller than that, coming in at 2000, and the Max HD is a little bit bigger, coming in at 3300, which gives you 8 hours of web browsing, 32 hours of mixed usage. So
I hate those numbers, those hours of usage. If you're a heavy user, you can suck that battery down as fast as you please. So I take that with a grain of salt. Just like driving a car, the miles per gallon is how fast you go. So
yeah, but the battery on those things, if I remember from the presentation, it was what, 27 hours of talk time?
21.
And I don't.
I mean, it's a huge battery.
It is. I will give it credit because a friend of mine has the original RAZR Max, and it lasts forever.
Yeah, I mean, the original RAZR Max is one of the longest-lasting LTE devices on the market.
Yeah, so the fact
it's not hardware. It's at all. It's all battery capacity because that thing's an OMAP just like the Galaxy Nexus has, and we know how bad it is on battery.
No, but these phones, they kept touting about, you know, how fast or how long the battery is going to last on all of them. One of the main points of the announcement was that they want a phone that lasts all day long. That you don't have to struggle at the end of the day hoping, oh God, I hope I make it home from work because I need to charge my phone. These phones will, you know, you're going to go to bed at night and you don't need to charge your phone until, you know, to the next day. You know, they'll maybe on minimal usage it'll last for, you know, 2 or 3 days. But
it's crazy.
To be able to, you know, browse the web using Chrome for 8 hours straight. I mean, that's what the Nexus 7 does. That it does 10 hours. So it's almost as good as your, you know, Nexus 7 owners. It almost lasts as long as that for web browsing. And that's LTE too. I mean, that's not using Wi-Fi. It's using the big battery whore that LTE is. You know, so that's not bad. That's exciting. So they have the you know, Kevlar casing on it, just like the previous RAZR devices. Corning Gorilla Glass. You know, so I'm sure we'll see some fun drop tests here in the near future. But one of the most exciting things for me was the RAZR M, which has a larger display, even though it's only a 4.3-inch screen.
Smaller display.
Yeah. So
Smaller display, 4.7 versus 4.3, 4.3 being the M.
Yes, and it's also QHD rather than 720.
And keep in mind, 4.3 doesn't include hardware keys either. Like, if you think about a 4.3 like a Thunderbolt,
Right.
and, you got 4.3 plus hardware keys, you got 4.3 including the software keys on the M, so it's effectively closer to a 4-inch display as far as what you're using.
Don't forget the lack of a bezel. The screen, it's edge to edge on the side.
It is not edge to edge, but it is very close to that.
It is the smallest bezel that's out, but it's very small.
You know, the average person's not going to know, Dan, that there's a millimeter of the bezel there.
I'm pretty sure the average person can tell.
Yeah.
The average person isn't so big of a moron that when they see space between the end of the screen and the edge of the device, they think, gee, I don't see an edge there.
Now, remember, the bezel isn't the plastic on the side. We're talking about the glass bezel.
You're never going to have a display without some level of bezel on it.
Yeah,
but even this flexible displays for Samsung have about 3 millimeters worth of bezel.
There's definitely plastic on the side.
Never say never.
There has to be. But
man, maybe some one of these days, I guess. Yeah, I can never say never.
Yeah.
Well, we might have a projector in there sooner or later.
Yeah, technology surprises us all the time.
So what were they saying? The Razr
it's barely wider than an iPhone, which is impressive enough.
But weren't they saying it has 40% more screen than an iPhone?
It's longer than an iPhone, obviously, but it's like within a millimeter of the width of an iPhone with a 4.3-inch display, which is very impressive.
They were touting, how they had 78% more pixels. This is not the M, but the Max. And
85% more color saturation.
Yeah. So then the iPhone 4S. Now, the iPhone 4S is going to be replaced soon, but they use that as a comparison to set the bar that it's 70 and 80%, better characteristics for the screen.
I think it was also a way for them highlighting the fact that these devices are in fact not lookalikes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So
bring it, Apple. Try and sue us. This doesn't look like anything like your products.
Okay, so let's move on to their Motorola's announced new exchange program. Basically, this is a program by Motorola saying that if devices were made in 2011 and launched in 2011, and they don't get updated to Jelly Bean, that customers will be offered a $100 credit to buy a new Motorola phone. Kind of cool?
Yeah.
Considering, I think.
I like it. I mean, if my device doesn't get it, I get $100 off. That's nice.
Yeah, I mean, I suppose it's better than other carriers just saying, "Oh no, we're going to get to it. We promise." 3 years later.
Yeah, I mean,
Motorola gets slammed a lot for lack of updates, but Samsung is substantially worse. I mean, I don't know why Motorola's pinned out as being one of the worst one for pushing updates, but
with updates, they're also the bootloader locking.
Mm-hmm. And even the Galaxy S3 on Verizon had an encrypted boot, but of course it got cracked. But that's beside the point. They're starting to lock them down now on Verizon, so.
Yeah, that's a carrier thing, though, not a...
Yeah. I mean, just you're comparing with the Razr, which is on Verizon too, so it's kind of a lateral thing. But Motorola's been better, not quite as good as HTC has been in the past about updates, but they're better than Samsung and LG.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I wonder how hard Verizon is going to push these Razrs, because I know that they pushed the Razrs before pretty hard. Like
the Razr before was the #1 marketed phone of all time by Verizon Wireless.
It outsold the iPhone 4S during a quarter. So
they didn't.
They pushed them.
Even when the Galaxy Nexus came out, they didn't try to. Well, we all know they didn't try to sell that phone. When I was talking to the various Verizon reps, multiple of them told me that the Razr was the #1 marketed phone of all time. They never, in terms of money spent on advertising and the push for it. So
they tried to talk me out of buying a Galaxy Nexus.
Now than ever before.
What's that, Dan?
Part of that's just that the cost of advertising continues to go up, so it costs more to get the same amount of advertising now than it did yesterday.
Well, yes, but they also maybe spent more money, but they also spent more percentage of the money too on advertising for it.
Well, they're not going to push a Galaxy Nexus because it doesn't have VCast on it and it doesn't have the carrier apps that they're making money off of it. And they tried to talk me out of getting a Galaxy Nexus.
You'd think when they're just actively sort of selling against it, they'd at least let it get regular Google support at that point.
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, they tried to talk me out of it, and I got it on launch day. It wasn't, it wasn't like, oh, we got this historical data that says
everything in their power to make it the crappiest possible Nexus ever.
That's crazy. I've seen a couple of customers getting talked out of the iPhone 4S strictly because of the LTE.
Right.
But that's been a main decider, as well as the battery life. They've been pushing them towards the RAZR, which I understand that. I mean, a customer's going to be more satisfied if they're going to charge it less and it has LTE support. They're going to be happier.
Motorola hit the nail on the head with the RAZR Max for the average consumer because...
Yeah, but then they came out with 8 different versions, and then they kind of
spaced from each other, just pissing off all of the previous customers.
Yeah, so they need to come up with... I would argue that they should not have the RAZR HD.
I agree with that.
No, I know people that chose to get the HD as opposed to the Max because they didn't care about the extra battery life. I don't think that it's a problem for them to have the 2 different offerings. I think it's a problem for them to offer them at 2 different times.
Okay. Okay.
There's like a millimeter worth of difference between the 2 devices form factor wise now. I don't think
because of the battery?
I think most people wouldn't even notice, but maybe obviously you save a little bit of money, I guess. I mean, it's 2,500 milliamp hours is pretty generous even for a base offering. That's much more than more than the Galaxy S3 has. That's more than any other phone I can think of on the market has as a base option. But 3,300, you got a 3,300 milliamp hour battery combined with a Snapdragon S4. It's going to last a long time.
So John, Dan, Scott, I have a question for you. A lot of people were yelling, complaining that Motorola, which is now owned by Google, is putting out phones that don't have stock Android on it. It's like, oh, it comes with blur. Down with Motorola, comes with blur. So my question to you is, what do you think of what I'll call the new blur, the blur that was demoed on the phones? Have you watched any of the demo videos that are on YouTube?
Yeah, it's a lot better than it used to be, which is nice. I think they've sort of gone the same direction as HTC with lightening it up. But also, as much as people keep going on about these are the first phones coming out from Motorola after the Google takeover, first of all, that's demonstrably false because the Motorola Photon Q was the first device to come out from Motorola after the takeover. And second of all, these devices are coming out too soon after the takeover to have had any significant Google influence in their development process.
I'd say the next group of big phones maybe might be considered the first phones, but I'm thinking maybe after that even will be true, hey, this is what Google's doing with Motorola, and this is what our vision is for the operating system on Motorola.
Yeah, the development cycle on these devices is easily a year.
Yeah. So we've got some time to figure out what their true vision is going to be. But right now, I think that they've gone in the right direction for the time being.
Yeah. No, I think they've made a big step in the right direction. I'm not sort of staggeringly impressed with any of their devices. I think they're roughly the same as the 1 series and coming out 6 months later. But I don't think they're bad devices. I think they're just as good as the other top-end devices on the market. I just think they're 6 months late to the party.
And these things don't have removable batteries, correct?
No.
Okay.
That's one of the reasons why they can make them as thin as they do.
Yeah, I was just clarifying.
The software is a marked improvement over what it... I honestly like the software on those better than I do TouchWiz and Sense right now. Well, they did add some cool stuff even with the current edition with the RAZR HD, like you can swipe to the left and get your quick settings real quick.
That was my favorite. Swiping to the left or swiping to the right to add a new screen.
It's obvious that they're paying attention. And then
is it
stock? It's not stock, but it's not offensive.
Yeah. Now the clock widget, how each of them does something different. Each of the 3 little circles sets up your notifications and brings up settings and so forth.
And you can swipe up on the phone icons and the other to peek into your phone calls and text. They've added some stuff that's useful.
And
you got 4 lock screen shortcuts.
I'll tell you what, it's not a bloated skin in my opinion. It's, I hate calling it a skin. I don't know why I just did that. It's not a bloated custom
framework.
Custom framework. It isn't. It's not bloated. It's not bad. I'd run it. I would.
I'm not disgusted looking at it or anything. There have been like TouchWiz makes me the Nature UX was the most. Yeah, I mean, I wanted to burn it and stab it in the neck with a knife. But I mean, and I kind of like the fact that you're starting with one home screen because I really don't populate all 5 home screens on the Nexus.
Yeah, I usually only use 3.
Yeah, I might have a widget or 2, but I never use more than 2 or 3.
I've got one that has all my settings and stuff, and then I've got one that has all my main used apps, and then I've got my widgets.
Yeah, I just don't see a need to have. I mean, I see a need that some people might have that many, but I like the fact that you're not forced to use a set amount of home screens.
Yes, that is the underlying great thing about it.
Mm-hmm.
And I do like the fact that the like Derek was talking about the multi-use widgets.
Mm-hmm.
I do like that.
Yeah, I think every time you look at a custom piece of software, they kind of have to have a signature. Motorola used to have the swipe down contact widget, but it's kind of like Sense. You look at a flip clock, even if it's beautiful widgets, and you look at a flip clock, you think Sense. You don't think that's just a cool Android widget. You just automatically think HTC Sense.
Yeah,
that's very true.
So I guess the question is how many home screens do you have?
How many can you have?
No, how many do you have? Well, you can have 7 on Blur, the new Blur.
Yeah, 7's.
Yeah. So.
Wait, let's go around. How many home screens do you guys have?
How many on which device? On my phone?
Oh yeah, phone.
You know what? I've gone for a.
Just give me a number.
A minimal. No, we're gonna talk about this. I've gone for a minimalistic effect in the past year. I'll say I used to have all sorts of widgets all over the place. App icons, folders everywhere. And multiple home screens. I only use 3 now, and they're very barren. They have each of them, only the clock widget on the home screen, a couple folders, very clean. You swipe left, I have some folder shortcuts in one widget. You swipe right, I have a couple widgets and some more folder shortcuts. Like I kind of have work stuff on one side and Derek fun geek out stuff on the other side. And I like it clean and simple. And my Galaxy, that's my Galaxy Nexus, my phone, on my Nexus 7. For a while, I actually ran stock UI with the play recommendations everywhere, just because they gave it to me. Why not? And then I got tired of it. I had to go clean, and that's how it is now. It's same thing as my phone. I have 3 screens, a couple widgets one way, a couple folders the other way. Defined them. Work and play. On one side and the other. And I like it clean. I don't like it cluttered and dirty. Scott, how about you?
All right, Dan.
I also have 3. My phone and my tablets are set up pretty much the same, where I've got sort of calendar and Google Voice widgets on the main page, and then full page either email or Google Plus on the 2 sides.
How about you, Jonathan?
I'm the same way. I use a pretty stock compiled version of Jelly Bean, but I only use 3 of the screens on the actual stock launcher. I have all my main applications and folders on the main screen, and then I have the bookmarks widget, and then I've got a Gmail widget on the other, and that's pretty much it. Yeah, I don't use a ton of applications though.
Yeah, I use 3 screens as well. My left screen is mainly settings and root apps. Then middle is just mainly used apps, things that I access more than 5 times a day. And then on the right, I got my widgets. When I started out with Android, though, I used 7 Plus. I used a lot. And, I mean, were you guys the same way?
No, I did. I used to use all 7 home screens on.
Yeah, it's kind of weird. Like, you use all the screens because, it's new and it's available to you, but then you realize, wait, I can be way more efficient with my space here.
I realized after a certain point I was just looking to find stuff to put on the home screens just to fill them up.
I was the same way back with Sense, but the only thing with Sense back then was, it was an Incredible 2, so it only had so much RAM, but you put 7 widgets worth of home screens on there, and they're going to get kicked out of memory.
Yeah.
So, you're just like waiting on the widget to refresh every time you scroll to it, so it's kind of useless.
Yeah.
The famous redraw.
All right, so let's get to a T-shirt giveaway here, and then we're going to talk about 2 more things, and we'll wrap up. Derek Moore requested us to talk about the Intel-based Razr M that's going to be released in the UK here, so we'll hit that here in a minute, and then we have some patent war stuff. But let's do a T-shirt. If you were here for the technical difficulties edition, is what we'll call last night's show, we had said we were going to give away 2 T-shirts, and they were both going to be the Andy Android nomming, biting down, chewing, eating an apple, and it said nom on it. And Jody Barnes answered the correct question. He won the Andy T-shirt. It's already been sent to him. He's going to be getting it, but unfortunately, the supplier has sold out of those T-shirts since then. But we're still going to give you away a T-shirt. It's just not going to be an Andy nomming shirt because they're not available at this time. So sorry, we can't do anything about that. But we're going to give you a choice of actually a couple different T-shirts. We're going to give you Android Authority T-shirts. So if you're watching this right now, I'm going to put the link on the main post, and you can check out those T-shirts there. And the winner can pick out any of those design sizes and colors, and we will get one to you. So without further ado, if you're watching this, you need to be watching on the main Android Authority post because that's where the only comments that we're watching. So when you answer this question, make sure you're putting your answer in the comments on the main post. If you're on YouTube, on your buddy's stream, on my stream, Scott's, John, Dan, whoever, we're not watching that. We're only watching the main one. So make sure you're commenting on the main post where I just put that URL for the T-shirts. Okay. So yesterday I had said this question was going to be about Android statues. So the statues that are in front of the Google Building 44 at the Googleplex in Mountain View, California, there's a bunch of Android statues there for the various versions of Android and a few other things. So the question is, an Android dog model was once accompanied by the original Android robot model until it was stolen in 2009. So the original Android Bug Droid robot used to have a dog model before it was stolen in 2009. It's no longer there. The question is, what is that dog's name? What is the dog's name that used to be beside the Android robot statue?
Is it Clifford?
No, it wasn't a big red dog.
It was not a big red dog, no.
It was a green dog. It matched the Android robot. What was that dog's name? He had a name.
Clifford.
It is not Clifford.
It is not Clifford. It was also not Puppy.
And yes, Ben Bagley, it is U.S.
U.S. only for the competition.
Sorry about that, international viewers. I don't know if you're an international viewer. Actually, let us know. I'd be interested to see how many international viewers we have.
1 million.
No.
Can we get some Jeopardy music? Why don't
Somebody say Clifford. No, that'd be copyright. Was named Puppy?
No, it was not named Puppy.
All right, so it wasn't named Puppy. It was a puppy. Puppy is on the description of it, but it had an actual name.
Use the resource that we are using right now.
Oh, we have a winner.
We have a winner. Winner.
Chicken dinner?
Allie Ogden got to adjust.
Allie Ogden is the... Oh, okay, well, she can't win, so that... Congrats, Allie. I will contact you in a few minutes for your shirt size and your mailing address and which shirt you want, the design, the color, yada, 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 and I will get that out to you. Thank you.
Sorry to Dustin, just a moment too slow.
Yeah. Man, I really wish they had timestamps with seconds, because that'd be true.
I'd like to see how close, how far apart they were. Oh, okay. So let's talk about the rumored and now somewhat confirmed Droid M, or I'm sorry, Razr M.
No, it's just Droid M.
No.
Yes.
Razr.
All things Razr are staying proprietary to Verizon. It will be the Droid M with
You
the
have that backwards, Dan.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Droid brand's Verizon.
Droid is Verizon's brand. All right, so everybody mark this down. This is the first time Dan Charlton's ever been incorrect before.
And he's angry about it, and he's in Google to find it out.
Verizon just has George Lucas in their back pocket.
It's dropping. Yeah, the Droid RAZR M is dropping the Droid branding when it goes to the UK. It's just going to be the RAZR M, and it is rumored and now confirmed to have an Intel processor. And this phone was somewhat announced, demoed, talked about last year, well, back at CES. So back around the beginning of the year at CES, Motorola announced a partnership with Intel that they're going to be producing Intel phones. And a phone was seen and so forth. So this is the result of that partnership. So what do you think about it? You know, I mean, we've had very few. I can think of two off the top of my head phones that have been dropped with Intel processors running Android in China and in India. They're late to the game, but they're very familiar with with processors, with CPUs. You know, they've been doing it for 40 years.
I think it's the wrong time to get an Intel-powered smartphone because they're coming out with Silvermont as a architecture like next year. Did he drop out?
Uh-oh.
I think the timing is too soon as well.
Just the obligatory dropout of Derek every single hangout.
I don't drop during regular hangouts. It's just hangouts on air. It's really annoying. Pichu, I have a bug report for you. So
another one.
Yeah. So I don't know what I was saying.
Bottom right corner, report an issue.
Intel chips.
So
I mean, it's not going to be the exact same as the RAZR M. It'll be the same shell, but the insides will be different.
Yeah. So
and beyond that, we really don't know much.
Should you get this phone, being the first major phone to sport an Intel processor, or should you wait till the second gen of Intel processors to come?
Well, remember when the Thunderbolt was released? That was a great phone to jump on, right? No, but I mean,
even worse, actually.
For the record, this is not the first Intel mobile chip.
No, they did do it in Google TV, and they had to deal with Logitech for a while.
Not only that one, they tried putting another one out that, I mean, it was designed to be a mobile chip, just all of the mobile handset makers kind of laughed it out of existence. Because it was that bad.
Yeah, it was pretty bad. They're
about half the performance production for quadruple the power consumption.
It was. I mean, they're working off a 5-year-old architecture right now. They don't have the compiler completely optimized. X86 is. I mean, they're working hard. They're contributing a lot, but now is not the time to get one.
Yeah, I mean they're moving very quickly, and I think Intel in the sort of in the ARM space will be interesting, but I don't think they're there yet.
Silvermont, maybe it's going to be on a smaller lithography, and it'll be the first actual atom that has out-of-order processing. So it's. I mean, there's a lot to like about what they have coming up, but this one can't even run with current crates processor to processor, not even counting baseband integration. So
yeah, I mean, when they put it out, they were trying to show it off as competing against the previous generation of chips. The problem with that was it was coming out at the same time, actually behind the new generation of ARM chips. So it's just not nearly as good as the S4 or as the quad-core Exynos or as the Tegra 3.
I would like to think that they're going to be completely successful with it. I mean, just for the fact that they know their architecture and they've been doing it for 40 years. But
they haven't been doing it in the mobile space, though, for 40 years. They haven't been doing it in the mobile space for any years.
No, but they're not a new company, is my argument.
No, they're not. But they are a company getting into a new market.
So that's why I would say Gen 1, the Metafield processors might... not be the ones.
This is not Gen 1. This is Generation 2.
What was Gen 1 then?
The Cedar Trail. I think it was Cedar Trail. I can't keep track of their reference names. But whatever one didn't actually make itself into any handsets because it was so bad that nobody would actually buy it.
So Medfield's Gen 2. I'm wrong about that.
Yeah, this one's just so bad that not a lot of people will buy it.
Well, I mean, Motorola is being the one to adopt it, to assign to a multi-year agreement. It's kind of telling because Motorola, prior to Google snatching up, is pretty desperate. And Intel inside is a marketing.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it counts. I mean, that's a good marketing to the person that doesn't know any better.
Yeah.
Because nobody, if you tell somebody what an ARM processor is, they wouldn't know what you're talking about. You tell Intel, it's already slapped on top of their laptop as a sticker, so they know what you're.
Yeah.
So let's move on to our final topic of the night here. Long story short, Dan and John say these things are going to be junk. We'll find out. We'll find out in the near future.
I'm just saying it's not as good as the American version with the S4.
It would have been awesome last year.
Yes. A year ago, that coming out would have been a very good phone.
Well, we don't also know if it's coming out with the Medfield processor either. We don't know what architecture they're going to use.
Well, Intel's only made just the one. So yeah, we pretty much do know.
Hasn't been confirmed. So, Dan, what do you think of the latest round of patent wars news this past week with HTC, touting some of their patents surrounding LTE when Apple comes out with their iPhone 5 here in a
Yawn.
Yawn?
Yawn.
Think it's just
you think HTC will go after them?
HTC has like what, 3 patents on LTE? They aren't actually making any of it. I don't even know how they managed to get patents on it. Wait, that's right, because you don't actually have to make things in order to patent them. You just have to think of something.
No, they bought them.
Oh, even better.
So they purchased patents just for the simple fact to use them against Apple.
And they did buy them before they released the Thunderbolt.
Yeah, exactly. That's why they bought them, because they were releasing the Thunderbolt.
Yeah, I mean, Apple's going to have problems moving into the LTE space, but all of the problems that they're going to have are of their own making. If they hadn't run around the world pissing off every single person that they rely on to do everything that they do, they wouldn't have all of those people going, wait a second, we actually build everything that makes your phones cell phones and give it to you, and now you're coming back suing us saying we're ripping you off? Please.
So do you think that if Apple and HTC go to court over this, do you think it's going to hold up?
I don't think it'll matter.
You don't think it will?
No, I really don't think it'll matter.
Okay.
Whatever LTE technology Apple's using, they're buying from somebody. Presumably it's going to be Qualcomm because that's who everybody's buying their LTE hardware from right now, and it's patented by a Qualcomm. And by buying it from Qualcomm, Apple gets the protection of Qualcomm's patents.
That's true.
And you better believe
Qualcomm can pretty much eat anybody alive.
Yeah, if Qualcomm went after somebody,
Qualcomm could shut down the entire cell phone market if they went after somebody.
I mean, there's a reason why they hold something like 68% of the mobile radio market, and that's all radios. When it comes down to LTE, it's much more like 98%. And you better believe they have the IP to back up those products. So when they sell it to Apple, it's not like Samsung can go and sue them for using a Qualcomm chip that somehow somehow infringes on a Samsung patent, because it's a Qualcomm issue. It's not an Apple issue.
Yeah.
And you better believe that Qualcomm can back up their products against Samsung's relatively meager 10% of the LTE patents. Or against HTC's handful of purchased ones.
Yeah.
All right.
So let's talk about a little bit about Android Authority on Air. We've now been doing this for a little over 6 months. So if you guys just found out about us recently, hey, how you doing? If not, you'll know that we've been growing over the past 6 months. We're very happy to be where we're at, have all of you watching us and listening to us. Scott and I came a long way. We've we've done a lot of things to get to where we're at. A lot of aspects with Hangouts on air, YouTube videos, podcasts, yada yada yada. We've grown. We have a very nice following, and we would like to thank all of you for your participation and watching us. If it wasn't for you, we wouldn't be where we're at now. So thank you. We're going to continue giving away things from time to time. Android swag, to show our appreciation. Little contests, such as answer a question or be the first to do this. Such as what we've done tonight. We're going to continue doing that to show our appreciation. And we might even be able to give away some devices, maybe like an Nexus 7 or something here in the future. So stay tuned for that type of information. And we'll be sure to let you know when we give away something big like that, if and when we do.
Well, and right now on the website, we're giving away a Galaxy Note 2.
Oh, yeah, exactly.
So if you guys want to check that out on the website, it's definitely something that's not our show related, but it's the site related. So
actually, it is our show related. Scott, we forgot to do it. All right, so we're giving away a Samsung Galaxy Note 2 for a few more days. You can go in on AndroidAuthority.com and find the contest and do everything in the Rafflecopter to get tickets, or to get votes, whatever they're called, submissions into the raffle. One of them on there says Android Authority on Air show. So how do you get that submission? Very simple. You simply enter the word Patent Wars, all one word, Patent Wars, in there, hit go, and your vote will be counted. So the Android Authority on Air submission item is Patent Wars, all one word. Go ahead and put that in there. You get one more vote for the contest. And that's about it, Scott. So if they want to find out what we've been doing for 6 months, where can they go?
They can go to YouTube and see us live streaming every week on Friday, 8:30 Central, 9:30 Eastern.
What country do you live in, Scott?
I live in Central. I don't know any other time zones.
I live in Central.
I'm in the country of Eastern myself.
I'm in the country of Central.
Find some people in the mountain country.
Okay, so we got YouTube, we got SoundCloud. You can stream or download from there. We have Podbean. We also do have an RSS feed on the site. If you want to scroll down on the right side, there's a section for on-air. That'll be all the on-air posts. Anything else?
No, I think you hit it on the head. So thanks, guys, for guys and gals. Congrats, Allie Ogden, for winning your T-shirt. So they'll get in contact with you shortly. Congratulations, and we'll see you all in a week. Have a good night. Have a good Saturday. Good weekend.
Take it easy, guys.